Hi, good evening. Good evening. We'll give you everyone time to settle in here and start gathering around. I want to thank you for being here this evening for Midweek Connection. So, as everybody's starting to gather in here on YouTube and on Facebook, um, I'll just kind of share with you a little bit about my week. So, my week, I've been working remotely for the most part because we are in North Georgia. We're in the North Georgia area celebrating our daughter's 18th birthday. Carrie's daughter, Alyssa, my adopted daughter, my bonus kid, as I call her, although she's not a kid anymore. But we've been celebrating her 18th. It's a milestone in our society, and we've been celebrating with four other teenagers. So I have been reintroduced to what it is like to have uh, five teenage humans. Well, they're teenagers, but two of them have passed now that 18 mark. Technically, 2 days from now, Alyssa's actual birthday is on the 11th, and so she'll actually turn 18. But my point is, people under the age of 20 in the same space together. Uh, Whoa, I've been reintroduced to that. Five of them. And they're all wonderful human beings, but man, it's a lot of energy and it's a lot of ideas and thoughts and such interesting conversations. And hearing them play together, enjoy each other's company has been really sweet. It's been very nice. And I'm grateful. So hopefully you're gathering in. Make sure, if you don't mind, that you go ahead and comment and like. Maybe tell me where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear that from you. Maybe share some good news. Maybe put something out there that you are grateful for. There's nothing like setting the stage when we're together than being in gratitude. And gratitude and love, or together, are such a dynamic duo in terms of shifting all of the possibilities and the potential and the energy and the vibration of our life. And I believe it's the thing that attracts more wonderful goodness into our life. And so, as you are gathering in today, maybe consider sharing something you're grateful for. I wanted to get into something. I won't hold you very long this evening, as I normally say. I won't hold you very long this evening. I wanted to get into something that I would call the battle for your divinity and what it is to awaken to the fifth dimension. We live in a three-dimensional world. Most of us, when we're operating in 3D and 4D, when we're in the 3D, we're essentially in the loop and in the program. And when we're in the 4D, that's the space where we can kind of start to move into a little more inspiration and creativity. But the fifth dimension, there's a power that we take on through the recognition of our divine nature. And the battle for your divinity is very clear to me now. As I look at the world and I see what's occurring, I realize that this is a very interesting battle, really, for your divinity, and to keep you from being aware of it so that that divine energy could be siphoned off. Loved ones, welcome to our midweek connection on the battle for your divinity. Uh, Over the last few months, I've had messages, calls, even some hallway conversations asking me to weigh in on what's happening in the world. Some of them will say pastor, some of them will say teacher, reverend. They say, Reverend, what do you think about Ukraine? What do you think about the genocide in Gaza? What about climate change? What about Trump? What about politics? What about economy? What about all the headlines? And hear me, I know that all of those things have a level of importance. They affect our lives. But if we're not careful, those things become diversions and even distractions from a very real event. And possibly, I would say, from the most important event of our lifetime. And what is that real event, you might say? Well, I can tell you that it's not the headlines. It's not the stock market. It's not politics, not even genocide, not even the vile treatment of immigrants, not even the threats over military takeovers of cities. The real event, in my humblest and sacred opinion, is the revival of consciousness, the awakening of divinity, and the remembering of who we really are. I'm going to ask you to take a breath with me here, just a deep breath in. Place that hand on your heart and maybe say silently or aloud, I am here for the great awakening. Maybe type that into the comments too. I am here for the great awakening. Feel what that feels like in your heart. We get to be a part of what I believe is the greatest awakening of human consciousness in the human timeline, in the history of humanity. But if we're going to experience that, we're going to need to take a good, sober look. So the first thing I'd like to point out is the hijacking of science. We live in a world where science has been hijacked. Science has been hijacked by corporations to sell us what we don't need. It's been hijacked by politics to push narratives, hijacked by religion to defend dogma. I was in a hotel recently, flipping through the channels. I don't watch a whole lot of TV at home, but there in the hotel, I noticed something. Different networks, different labels, liberal, conservative, independent, but the language was nearly the same. Same phrases, same words, same script, maybe different sides of the coin. But that's when it hit me. There's a battle for our thoughts. There is a battle for our beliefs. There's ultimately a battle for our biology. But deeper than all of that, there's a battle for your divinity. Not just your biology, but your divinity. Now let me explain what I mean when I'm saying divine nature, because some people will think I'm talking in religious terms. What do I mean by divinity? Well, many people link it with religion. But divinity is not dogma. It's not belonging to a church or reciting the right creed. It's not being in a temple or a synagogue. The pure definition of divinity is this: our ability to transcend perceived human limitations. Now, that's Greg Braden's definition, and I like it. In the purest forms, it's not about how well you do your religion. It is about our ability to transcend perceived human behaviors. We're in this week, right, of third eye chakra. And while we've been in this week, what I asked of us this last Sunday was to have a shift in our perception, because when your perception changes, your reception changes, and the conception that is birthed in the womb of your soul, it also is affected directly by perception and conception, or perception and reception. So when I'm saying perceived human limitations, our divine nature in definition is our ability to transcend limitations and move into potential. Think about that. Perceived means they're not always real. Perceived means programmed beliefs. Transcend means not just surviving, not just coping, but thriving beyond those limitations. Scripture tells us this, that, and I'll modernize it a little bit, you know how I am. In the source, we live and move and have our being. Now, I'm going to talk about that more on Sundays. We go into the crown chakra, but that's what it says. In the source. Now, King James says, in him we live and move and breathe and have our being. The him that's being spoken of there in a pronoun is speaking of the source, the creator, the I am. In the source, we live and move and have our being. Your divinity is the part of you that knows things without being taught those things. It's the intuition that guides you. It's the creativity that flows through you. It's music, it's art, it's words, it's love, it's beauty. That is divinity in motion. That is divinity being played out in the human biology. And here's the truth: you cannot lose your divinity. You can deny it, you can ignore it, you can cover it up, you can forget it, but you cannot lose it. There are people who will tell you that you can lose your salvation, and maybe they're correct about that, in that maybe that means you are losing your connection to your divinity, but you can't actually ever lose it. Like a sculptor chiseling marble, your divinity shines forth when you remove the stone. You don't become divine, you already are divine. Type it into the comments if you will. I already am divine. I don't need to become anything. And now we move into point number 3, the 5th dimension. Because we're talking about divinity is your ability to transcend your perceived human limitations. How do we do that and still remain in a 3D world? Well, it's going to be through us ascending, if you will, or transcending and ascending into the 5th dimension. Now let's talk about the 5th dimension. The 3rd dimension is survival, fight, or flight, or freeze. It's separation. The 4th dimension is awakening, starting to awaken, and you see the cracks in the old system, glimpses of possibilities and potentials. But the 5th dimension, that's remembrance. That's living in union and in unity with the higher realms of consciousness. That's coherence. That's what I mean when I talk about love. Love is the essence and the vibrational frequency of the 5th dimension. Love, joy, and peace are always there. So when we're practicing love, joy, and peace, we're essentially practicing 5th dimension. Jesus said it like this, and I'll revoice it a little bit. Your eye is the lamp of your being, and if your perception is clear, your whole being is filled with light. We talked about that this last week. I wanted to remind us that when we are in that 5th dimension and there's a clearing of the 3rd eye chakra, we're able to see and to perceive differently, and our whole being becomes illuminated. When you live in the 3rd dimension, fear manipulates you. You'll give your power away to anyone who promises safety at that point. That's the currency. The currency becomes your power to get you safety. But when you live in the 5th dimension, love guides you instead of fear. And suddenly the powers of fear no longer work on you. In the 5th dimension is where Jesus is talking about when he says perfect love, or love perfected, casts out fear. Because when you're living in the 3D of fear, you're giving your power away as payment for safety. But when you're living in the 5th dimension of love, the power that you have is not sapped or taken from you. You're able to create the life that you were intended to live because you have the power and the building blocks to do so. And fear no longer works on you. And that's why the systems of this world, fear awakened people. Because you can't be controlled when you're awake. When you know who you are, you can no longer be controlled. So that leads me to my 4th recognition this evening. Spirit is expressing within us and through us. This is exactly what our spirit expressing journey has been about this whole time. It's what it's been building toward. The root is the safety and belonging. The sacral is the flow of creativity. Your solar plexus in with the heart is willpower that is transmuted into love power. And when we went into the throat, we said that that's our voice of truth and we're speaking our truth. In the 3rd eye, perception is awakened. And then as we move toward the crown, we move into the knowing. And so when we are in the 5th dimension of knowing, there is a flow, an ebb and a flow all the way up and down the spine, metaphorically and literally. And it's a messaging of unity from root to crown and from crown back to root. We're living in the knowing. And now the crown, which is knowing, not belief. It's not doctrine. It's not parroting what the news says, but it's direct, mystical, truthful knowing. I am inseparable from the source. The mystic Meister Eckhart said this: the eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. That's crown consciousness. That's fifth dimension living. And this is why there's a battle for your divinity. Because when you're awake to your divine nature, when you're not living in fear, you're not able to be controlled. So, number 5, the revival of consciousness. Now, let me say this. I want to make this very plain. This revival that's occurring now, the true revival of our time, is not happening under a tent somewhere or in a church building or a mosque or a temple. The revival is not emotional hype. The revival is not about converting others to your particular religious bend, although there are many who think that that's occurring right now. The true revival is the revival of consciousness. It's a revival where humanity remembers its divinity. It's a revival where love, joy, and peace become the organizing principles of an entire society. We're moving toward that critical mass that shifts our whole world into a higher level of being. It's a higher vibration. And in that vibration, there's healing. In that vibration, there's wholeness. In that vibration, there's abundance, and there's wellness, and there's peace that passes all understanding. It's a revival where we stop recycling fear and instead we start to embody freedom. And it begins right here, right now with you. And this is why there's been a battle for your divinity. But right here, right now is the time for awakening and a revival of our divine nature. We don't need to merge with it in the sense of it's gone. We need to merge with it in the sense of our knowing, our consciousness. Being aware of our divine nature gives us access to all of the benefits of that divine nature, which leads me to number 6, generational healing. The question might be, why now? Why generational healing now? Well, I'd like to say it's because we are the generation that's called to heal generational fear that's been passed down. In science, it's called epigenetics. Spirit calls it grace. Either way, trauma can be passed down in the DNA, but it can be healed and reversed. It takes one generation to stop the cycle. One. When you heal yourself and you return to your divine nature, you don't just heal for you, you recalibrate the field for your children and your grandchildren, your community, and in fact, your world. Carl Jung would say it this way: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But we are here to heal a generational trauma, generational fear, racism, slavery, bondage, trauma, killing, genocide, all of the fear that has been injected into our DNA and then passed down. This is why the Bible says that the sins of the father are passed down to generations, even 7 generations. And that really it meant to say that it's really passed down from generation to generation to generation until somebody breaks the cycle. But I am here to break the cycle. Somebody put that in the comments. I am here to break the generational cycle of fear. Put that in the comments. I am here to break the generational cycle of fear. Loved ones, when we're making the unconscious conscious, we're choosing love over fear. And that changes everything. Again, love perfected removes fear's power. Or in the scripture says, cast out power. So once we do that, we heal that generational fear, that generational trauma, drama, and pain. That leads me to number 7, living divinity in action. See, this is the good news. You don't fight for your divinity. You live in your divinity. When you live from divinity, fear loses its grip. Media manipulation collapses. Systems of control start to crumble when you live from your divinity. You don't have to fight for it. You live from it. And when you live from it, the assignment, alignment occurs. And here's what happens. You begin to collaborate with spirit, and then you start to calibrate with that divine vibration. And as you calibrate with that divine vibration, you disseminate the powers of fear and bondage and manipulation. Jesus said it this way: the kingdom is within you. He was saying the authority of the divine is in there. It's about aligning with it. It's not about locating it somewhere. In fact, he warned against that because Jesus was the great way shower. And he warned against looking over there and over here to find it. When you live from the kingdom within you, you become a walking revival, a walking, talking, emanating presence, frequency, and vibration in the world. And the anointing starts to flow from you that breaks the chains of bondage, releases the captives from their prison. It opens up the incarceration space within other people too. So you're not just here to heal yourself, you're also here to heal others and to be a doorway, a gateway, if you will, for others to recognize that they too can walk out of the prison of their conceptual beliefs that are based in fear and limitation and locate heaven on earth, because they collapse all of the fear that has been put on top of them, and they leave the manipulation prison, and then they live in freedom. There's a battle for your divinity because people who are aware of their divine nature are impossible to control. And I choose today to live in that freedom and release myself from the control. I'm going to ask you, loved ones, if you were to place your hand on your heart and breathe in, if you will, and exhale. Maybe whisper silently, I remember who I am. Come on, one more time. I remember who I am. And make this declaration: I am divinity in human form. I am divinity in human form. And come on, affirm this and activate this in your life. I live from love, joy, and peace. I am divinity in human form, and I live from love, joy, and peace. Now type in, if you will, to the comments. Type it to, you can say it as a reply to someone, or you can look at someone. Maybe you're watching this with someone. Look at them and say, you are divine, and nothing can take that away from you. Type it into the comments. Maybe it's a reply to somebody. You are divine, and nothing can take that away from you. This week, I encourage you to live from your divinity. Don't look for it, live from it. Refuse fear. Radiate love. Heal everything and everyone you touch with that divinity that's within you, because the revival of consciousness, it isn't coming, it's here. And it begins with us. Somebody type that into the comments, or at least declare it aloud. It begins with me. The revival of consciousness begins with me. It's not on its way, it is here. And it begins with me. Loved ones, you are not here to survive life. You are here to resonate with life. You're not here to conform to fear. You're here to embody love. You are divinity expressing. You are divine nature showing up in human form. So go forth, shine your light, live this conscious awareness, live this divinity, awaken in it, and awaken it within you, and let the revival of consciousness flow to, for, through, and as you in the world. The battle for your divinity stops the moment you wake up to it and choose to live from it. So I choose. I choose to live from my divine nature. It's nothing that I have to go get. It's nothing that I earn. It's nothing I have to work for. It is who I am, and I choose to live it. And so it is. So it is. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I hope this was a blessing to you. And hopefully you'll share this with somebody. And consider sharing a financial gift this evening. Put a little bit of money on this vibration, this recognition. It helps us to continue doing what we're doing, but it also introduces on a regular basis to your life the law of circulation. I know that all things are working together for our highest good. I give, I stay in circulation. I give into ministries that feed my soul. I give to people who are in need. And I have found that that is how the wealth continues to flow to me. You can do the same thing. The ways to give are going to be in the comments. The ways to give should be in the description, but if they're not there now, they will be in a few moments. But I want to say thank you for giving. Thank you for giving and sowing into this ministry. All right, my friends, I'm going to get out of here. Quick plug. This is Sunday for the chakra of crown chakra. And I think Carrie was saying, and I'm aware of this, that the color is purple, but also white. So you can wear a combination of light purple or white, or you can wear either one, or you can just wear whatever you want. How about that? But I think the idea is for us to celebrate and get really into the festivities around this Crown Chakra series and this Spirit Expressing series. If you have not gotten your tickets for our Taste the Nations Gala, please go do that. Go to our website, firstunity.org. Look for that tab for Taste the Nations. Click on there, order your tickets. I don't know that we have very many left, and the last day that the ticket booth is open is this Sunday. So if you go ahead and do it now, you don't have to even worry about it on Sunday. We would love to make this a great success and to really enjoy being together and having a wonderful time experiencing the multi-cultures. I love how this idea came to pass. It's an opportunity to taste the foods, to learn a little bit about the cultural identities of these different nations that we're celebrating. And I'm just excited. So if you haven't done that, please consider doing that. I can't think of anything else. Now go and make it a great evening just because you can. I love you, family. Peace.